Okay, let's try and make our Christmas fruitcake. I can't figure out how to get the darn eggs in the camera. I hope they're in it. I'm mixing them up with a fork. Now I had to melt the butter because it's winter, my kitchen is cold, and my oven doesn't work. I have to use the electric oven in the other room. Here we go, that's enough. Now, I can't put the butter in because I melted it, so it's kind of hot. But I have the eggs done, and I have sugar. 3/4 of a cup of white sugar and 1/4 cup of brown sugar. Put them in with the eggs all at once and mix it up with the fork real good. Okay. I'm going to have to fix the recipe that I typed up. I forgot a couple things. All right, now it's plenty wet, even without the butter. I've got 2 cups of flour. I'm going to put in 1, 2 heaping spoons full and mix those in. I forgot to get the milk ready. Hang on. Sorry about that. When I went near the fridge, a cat decided to come in. I'm just using whole milk. You can use buttermilk or whatever. Just a little splash. The total milk is probably going to be about 1/4 cup, but it depends on how thick or thin your batter feels. All right, mixing away. Try and get a picture. Okay. Doesn't have to be perfectly mixed just yet, but I'm putting in about 1 cup of the 2 cups of flour. And 2 or 3 heaping spoonsful at a time. Now I'm done with the fork, and I'm going to use a silicone spatula. I like the one with the hole in it because it's less messy. Things don't tend to splash as much, but it allows me to scrape the sides of the bowl and mix in the flour. Now at this point, I can put in the melted butter without turning the eggs into scrambled eggs. It's a whole stick, 1/2 cup of butter. And it's kind of hot, but with all the flour and a little bit of milk, it will not cook the eggs. We don't want scrambled eggs. Let's put in a little more flour. And keep mixing. I'm moving everything around. The bowl on the counter is kind of scooting around and bumping the phone. A little more. Now I want this batter to be a little thicker than regular cake batter, so I'm going by feel. It's feeling too thick, so another little splash of milk. Oh. aching back. And at this point, I'm going to go ahead and add, now this is optional, but I like to put in a tablespoon of lemon juice. I'm guesstimating. It kind of brightens up the flavor, but you should not have so much that you would taste the lemon. Also, by adding liquid now, I know whether I'm going to need more milk, so let's add a teaspoon of vanilla extract. I'm also guesstimating. Keep mixing. Just by hand, you don't need a mixer for this. But we do need the flour. Another 2, 3 spoonsful of the flour. And mix, mix. Now we don't want it to be like dough, like bread dough, but we want it a little thicker than cake flour. It's getting more like dough, so another splash of milk. And mix, mix, mix away. And our spices, salt, and baking soda. I got them all put together in one little bowl. Let's put them in now. Probably should have done it earlier, but that's okay. Mix in the spices. Now, people will warn you not to overwork the batter, but really, it's hard to overwork it when you're doing it by hand. I think I can put in the rest of the flour. All done. Now, the way I got the flour out was to use a spoon and spoon it into this. This is a 1 cup measure. Dump it in a Pyrex pitcher, and then a second one. Now I've got all the flour in the mix, and it feels a little stiff and thick. It's more like bread dough than batter, so just a tiny splash of milk. Oh, dang. Hang on a sec. The cap goes on the milk, not the floor. I did wash it off. And we don't want it too loose at this point because we're going to get our various fruitcake fruits that were soaked in my case, in rum overnight. You could use brandy, water, fruit juice. Let's see if I can get a good picture of the fruit. Criminy. I don't know if you can see that. All I see are my sleeves. I'm a camera klutz and a kitchen klutz. Come on, evil thing. I don't know. I'm just gonna do this. Spoon it in. Let's turn the camera around and see if that helps. Spoon of fruit with the liquid. So don't get the batter too loose before you put in the fruit. Okay, it's all in there, and we just kind of fold it in. Lift up, lift up. Scrape the sides of the bowl. Fold it in. Woo! almost ready. Now what I'm going to do is put it in a loaf pan and bake it. I will rub, in my case, butter. You could use oil, all over the inside of the loaf pan so it doesn't stick. And even with a large spoon, or even with your silicone spatula, or if you're using a wooden spoon, that's fine. But try to get the batter to where it falls off. A little can stick. It isn't runny, but it falls off. And then we're going to bake it at 325 Fahrenheit, about an hour, but we'll start checking at 40 minutes. Let me get that thing. Here it is, right there. A wooden skewer to poke into the cake and test it. When the skewer comes out clean, the cake is done. And it might be done at 40 minutes. It might not be done until it's an hour. But I'll have to make a separate video when the cake is done. So hang on.